Hi everyone, it's Adrian Leah. I wanted to talk about the Ukiyo Tarot. I recently received this in the mail and I'm really enjoying it from how I've been interacting with the deck. It was a specific situation or situations where I was thinking if I wanted to get backup decks for some decks that I have in my storage unit that I enjoy reading with. Um, and that's still a little up in the air, but there was one deck that I was specifically remembering, and it's the Japanese Myth Tarot. I have mentioned it in other videos. I love the way that it reads. It's elegant and it reads clearly. There's a lot of air to it. There's such a flow to it as well, like with the minor arcana. If you line up the cards, you can really see a story with it, and I love those types of decks too. Um, Decks that have maybe lore or story behind it, and it just adds layer of detail and depth and interpretations. So, one of the decks, um, well, it was the Japanese Myth Tarot, and then there was another deck that I did see listed um, for a cheaper price. Um, I was thinking of if I wanted to get that one, and I didn't get it. Um, but I'll see. So I was looking at other decks that were on the market, and I came across the Ukiyo Tarot by Pietro Torino, A Journey into the Floating World. And I just was like, this will be the deck that I get. And so I was thinking, oh, maybe I could find it in the bookstore, although it is going to be full price, at least I could pick it up. So I went to two bookstores that said it was available, and it was interesting because, like, when I got there, it said it was in their system and it was in stock, but it wasn't on the shelf and it wasn't in the back either. And that happened at two stores. And then I was going back to the a listing that I saw on eBay for the deck, and it was listed for a cheaper price, and then I made an offer. I feel like maybe that was the universe being like, you could get it at a discounted price because I do enjoy getting decks secondhand too because they are an investment. And over the years, I have passed down uh, or moved on decks that I didn't use as much as I would have liked. Um, I didn't optimize the collection to me, the way that I like to read, my taste. And then there are other decks that I have a special place for, and they are more of a maybe personal item or collectible. So this one, it does feel like it's it feels like a quick reader in a way where the messages almost come out so quickly that it's like you better keep up for us to give you this message. So, and it almost gives like that energy. I'm going to tell you this once, and then you're going to get this. I don't feel like it's a necessarily blunt deck. I do feel like there is a lot of communication going on with this. This is one of the more traditional Rider-Waite Smith decks that I have. I usually go for decks um, that are inspired by the system or that has like a basis of the system, or even something that grazes it, and then it maybe is something more abstract or like really up to the um, creator's interpretation of it too, which I really enjoy. And you get to see the different artwork and how things are portrayed, and there's so many different interpretations that you can get from them. Interestingly, with this deck, over the years when I did buy decks, I was I still felt like it was nice to really venture off and see the decks, which is completely okay if that's what you like to do. There are different things that people are into. Right now, I feel like when I got this deck, I also have a deck that I was gifted too for Christmas. So I'm going to show that in a different video. Um, but right now I feel like really satisfied. Like I feel like I really chose decks to take with me that are pretty utilitarian for me because I have a specific use for it. There's some random ones that I'm surprised that I have, but I feel like I bought them um, in between like moving somewhere or like traveling somewhere. So, and it's not to say that the decks are bad, but there are certain decks, well, many of the decks that I have, they have a specific purpose, or I've had them for a long time, and um, they have served as staples, and I am grateful for them. So again, this is a used deck. I did count to see if I had all the cards because it's a used deck, but because like the box is taller than the cards, because a lot of times when I see decks in these boxes, sometimes, well, a lot of the times they're like over the box. So it was interesting, and even interesting for Low Scarabeo too, because this is a box. I mean, I haven't gotten decks for. I got them here and there, but not nearly as much as I used to. So this is definitely different than how I used to see them. And they don't have the wording on at the or the different languages on the cards either, and the lovers are at the bottom, or is the bottom card. The figures are at the bottom. So I'm not going to go through the book because some decks I go through the book and other decks I'm like, I think when it catches my fancy, but I I just feel like I really like the cardstock of this. It does feel a little thinner, but not thin enough for me to be um, thinking about it every time I pick up the deck. It is a nice cardstock. It has like a petal finish, and then it is on the thinner side. Um, I like variations of different decks, so I don't mind feeling and seeing different types of cards. Because I do like larger cards too. I also like the size of Low Scarabeo decks specifically. I have mentioned that a while back when I would talk about tarot more. Um, and this is a nice symbol. Um, this is like associated with samurais. It does have um, the type of imagery that's reminiscent of other symbols in other cultures, but it is to Japan. So, um, and I do like it's like the sun with the land of the rising sun. If that's what it was going for, but I didn't read the book. Maybe I'll quickly see, but that's just what I'm getting with it. And I'm going to do a sample reading with the deck at the end. And I'm going to be like slowing my roll a little bit. I'm not seeing it in the introduction, so I'm not gonna go too much into it. Because I really feel like this is more of a fast-paced deck. But I don't feel like it's a bad thing either. It actually feels like fun with the type of movement. And that's a lot of what I feel like maybe anime is. And this is an interesting thing for me. So I'm going to show the cards, do a sample reading. Because when I think of anime, I think of a lot of movement. There's just, even with like a lot of the theme songs, there's like a lot of energy that goes into it. With this artwork, I do feel like it has like a touch of Japanese artwork inspiration with it. I do feel like it has like a little bit of a hybrid type of imagery here because overall with anime, and I could be wrong, there I just feel like the types of line work that it has with the movements and the way that like the art is, it tends to have like a cartoony bolder presence, cartoony, not in a bad way, but it looks different than like manhwa, like Korean manhwa. And I would say that the line work is a more delicate detail type of artwork. And again, that can be just completely in general. This is kind of going off of how I have seen anime over the years, and I don't really go. I don't watch too many new things these days. When I watch stuff in general and anime, I tend to watch the ones that I grew up with. So it can go back a little bit, but I do really enjoy this deck, and I feel like there is that connection. And it's not the same as manhwa, but I do feel like there is like that mixture of this imagery because it doesn't have the a lot of complete Japanese imagery of this in this deck, which I think is fun. So, as I said, this is a deck that has more um, closer Rider-Waite symbolism than what I tend to read with in general. I do have some decks, and I do have a Rider-Waite Smith deck, but that was given to me, and thank you so much to the person that gifted it to me. But um, I just feel like it's what you connect to. And I do love certain cards. I really love this Lovers card too. I didn't mention it. So, because I've been talking, And this feels like vulnerability and like intimacy here because this person, it looks like, um, to say that his lover like looks maybe exhausted from something that has happened, or there's something that makes, and not saying that she looks bad or anything, but like, when you just have a feeling or like the energy of being tired of life. And there's something like soothing about it. Like I really like this type of um imagery and that type of intimacy in this deck because it just reaches um maybe the reader like the type of connection that reaches you differently than something that's just surface level. I hope I get to the sample reading in this video, but if not, I I feel like it's fine. So I might make this part one depending on how much I talk. Um, I'll be honest with this Page of Swords, but with the expression over here, and it's not bad because it really, I feel like this deck really reads. There's just something that looks, and it could be what I'm getting right now, but in another type of interpretation, like I could be getting something different. By the expression, it's like, um, it doesn't have to necessarily mean like being pompous or being arrogant, but like, when you're at that age, especially with the page, and you don't have to read for ages, and you just feel like um sometimes you're invincible or that you know it all or that like um you're gonna be able to catch yourself every time like you fall. And um there does seem to be that the way that the figure wields the sword in the card is as if they have been a master at it for years or like for a lifetime or something like that. It was something that just came so naturally, and maybe in some cases, um, you could pick up something and immediately feel connected and know what you're doing. But with the Page of Swords, like, and depending on the reading, maybe it does read something where uh, I keep getting like know it all. It's just such a very fast paced direct. There's a lot of different things that come out, and I really love that for this deck. And there's a lot of ideas and like just things that uh it's not bad having confidence. I feel like the world can try to eat you alive and drag you down and push you down like harder and harder. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. And I've said this before, like to be your own cheerleader is something that's really important because sometimes you don't feel like you have anyone that really backs up the idea that you have, but you feel for some reason like so strongly about it. And maybe it's a good thing, and maybe down the line you might realize that like uh, there was other stuff to be like learned or things that like didn't really come the way you were thinking about. But there's so much depth that comes to um, the Page of Swords, and even like with the clouds here too, they just have like a boldness to them. And I do love like the black cards. It's interesting because my Japanese material is it's white. So this is like opposite, and I really enjoy that because it doesn't feel like I'm getting like the same deck. And um, with this King of Cups, there's something almost like centered about it with the symbol here. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it's something specific. But there's something like still gentle and soft about this energy too. And I'm not sure about the other kings and queens, but the chair here looks a little softer, like, or cozier. There's something that like is comforting about the deck or about the card. I love some of these cards. The death card is one of my favorites too, and I love the red. Um, I'm thinking it's a moon, but at the same time, it could be like the sun, but it's black in the back. And it does kind of feel like that personality where you're embodying like the aesthetic too. There is like a boldness, and especially I feel like where a lot of the Japanese imagery comes into play for me, for what I'm seeing, is in the background, like the types of colors and the types of movement when it comes to background, Japanese backgrounds. I feel like that's where it really shows. And then like with the figures, it kind of seems like it is more of like a mix of maybe artworks, a mix of cultures, if you will. Again, not a bad thing. And I do like a lot of the nature aspects of the cards too. Because in the lovers card, I didn't mention, but there's the um, let's see, like the leaves here. And it could be like a stretch too. And it's not the death card, but it almost feels like dying so that you could live again. And there are certain parts of you, because like the lovers is represented by Gemini too, um, where there's different parts of you. And I mean, there's more than uh, there. It's not just like one note with your personality. So it's like an embodiment, but maybe there are certain things in life and in the way that you move through life, it just isn't the same as it used to be, too. And so that could be like a sacred passage of what the Lover's card is here. And it's fun seeing buildings in interesting places. And there's something special because it does seem like tea ceremony with the Six of Cups. And a lot of times with the Six of Cups, I feel like it associates with things that are of the past, and then sometimes it could be a little euphoric too, because um, when we think about those things, it just seems the feeling is just as good as you remember it to be, or like maybe in your head you're even thinking like it was even better than what it was before or when it happened. You're gonna see some skulls in here too. I don't think I'm gonna go to the reading of this video. I do like the Six of Pentacles in here. For some reason, it kind of feels like energy of maybe like story time of like she could have came from a wealthy family, and that they were feeling like they didn't need to give back, or they wanted to make sure the money stayed in the family type of situation. But this person feels like maybe she's trying to give us a little more, or as much as she can, like on the down low with it. Um, and just by like the imagery too, right now, what I'm seeing is that like the figure here looks a little close, so there could be that type of, I'm not saying like intimate interaction, but I mean, I guess maybe, but I feel like there's something about being comfortable enough to be that close to a person. And maybe we might be close to a person, but not be that comfortable enough to have that type of close quarter type of interaction. And I do like the reference of like the rising sun in throughout the deck. Well, I think in the background too with the chariot card. I do like the floral in here. I do feel like it's not really focused heavily on a specific element because I do feel like some decks like lean more a certain direction in terms of like it feels more of a like an air deck or fire deck or water deck and earth. And with this one, with the King of Swords, it does look like something that's really cemented or set in stone or in place, or there's something concrete and like definite about this type of imagery. But it doesn't seem like a place, like the figure coming from a place where it's just blindly doing it. It seems like with the expression of I've seen things and I know things type of imagery. Um, and like there is a sense of like strong boundaries with this too. I do love this Fool card. It's probably one of my favorite Fool cards. And it kind of looks like the family dog. And an ode to Aries with the Emperor. And it kind of feels like you built that kingdom, uh, like how am I gonna say this? Like when maybe in Naruto where they have the hidden leaf village or like the mist. It's been a long time. I don't remember a lot of them, but or the sands, and it's like kind of like the environment is comfortable for you, or like it kind of like maybe the environment built you up depending on where you were, if that makes sense, or like if you're in a specific part of the world, and even in the US, different parts of the US, like one areas like can be completely different from another area. um so there's that sense of like looking at that type of kingdom and seeing or wondering like how are you like in that position, or how are you like in that area specifically, because um for some it doesn't seem like a place to thrive, but it's like maybe surprising too because you see that there's looks like lava on the card. And this is just like you see like the small smile, but there's still like one of the biggest like satisfactions that you can get. And you just feel like the cups are just they're filled with water, and that just seems like so happy with the Nine of Cups. This Five of Pentacles is interesting too, because at the same time it looks like there is a little bit of discomfort being in that being outside, but at the same time, um, it almost like can be as if they walked out of something that didn't give them, I was going to say closure, like the foundation that they needed to meet their needs. Like there's something where something wasn't met and they had sometimes maybe like no choice but to move forward and to do something else because what was in the past was isn't working anymore. There could be like a little bit of like just a some expression of being solemn, a solemn expression in here, and even that she doesn't have shoes on too. That so that's really cold. I might put this back in order at some point. I am gonna do a walkthrough, like or a flip through. This is like more of my, I guess, impressions of this deck. Um, I do like the court card meanings that I'm getting from this deck too. Yellow is an interesting one. I mean, it makes sense to me, and I see that the sunflowers are there, and that's nice. I don't usually see a lot of yellow when it comes to the wands, even though it could be associated with fire, but it tends not to be one that I see as much. Another court card from the wands. And there is something interesting with, like, I feel like the salamanders all over the cloak. And it almost feels like it's saying that, like, I am born of. And honestly, with, like, the multiple salamanders, it does feel like a little, like, oh my god, there's, like, a bunch of stuff all over me. But, um, not in a bad way. Like, the card makes sense. And it does look like there may be flames in the background, too. As I said, like, really living in the element. This is interesting structure too, considering it's the. I feel like it's more based on the Rider-Waite-Smith system. I noticed like the bolder eyeshadows in this deck. And this kind of feels like it's like being smart with your money too. And it's interesting with this wheel. It's kind of getting like almost sus because like the expression right now is giving a little sus, being like, "Are you seeing what I'm doing?" type of thing. And it's almost like she's blending into the background too, as if it's almost camouflaged in a way, or wanting to be camouflaged in a way. With the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so I'm not gonna do the reading in this video. I have this much, so I don't think I'm gonna talk about. Well, I haven't been talking about all the cards, but trying to see what they are. I love the bird wings here. And with this Queen of Pentacles, it does feel like I earned this type of energy. Because with the Pentacles, it does feel like a practical suit. And I do like how kind of casual this is a little bit with her playing the trumpet. And it does feel a little angelic too. And with those pillars, I feel like it does represent like when you're at these pillars, it represents like a transcendence type of thing going on. And even with the moon, for some reason, like right now, I'm feeling a little more about rabbit energy. I like how the eyes are open in this, and then she has the scroll in her hands. So it's almost like she read the results, or she already knows. And then she has like the symbol at the top above her head. And with the movement of the Knight of Swords, it seems more direct, like with the way that the figure is holding the sword. This card, like with the Nine of Pentacles, it feels like it's a card that is giving I'm made of wealth. Ooh, this is fun. It looks like maybe a seamstress. I love seeing that index. With the Seven of Cups, what are your priorities? And maybe it's like a couple of those things or all those things, or like what are you doing? And or is there something that you really need to make a decision on with that? And the Star giving an ode to Aquarius. an air sign, but it looks like she's in water too. With this one, it feels like it's like just pick it up. Just um, it's almost like you're saying to somebody like it's right there type of energy. I do enjoy the strength card. I like the expression. Um, like there doesn't need to be something that's thrown in your face type of boldness. And it's almost like a strength that thinks outside of the box. I've been watching like a lot of Sigma type of videos, and I feel like it kind of gives those type of vibes. And there's a sense of like even confidence in yourself, but there might be like underdog energy, but it's something that you don't aren't too concerned about. And um again, it could be like outside of the box or out of nowhere, that not necessarily out of nowhere because you know about your capabilities, but not necessarily needing to vocalize them. So it's like that type of situation where people might say this, that, and third, and then all of a sudden you just have like the power move that just like ends that conversation or like ends whatever like interaction that it is. With this Ten of Swords, it's kind of interesting. It's almost like she's sitting in it. But a lot of times in life, we're not just sitting in the Ten of Swords. But it might be hard to um, get back up from. In this one, there is a different focus. Like with the Page of Swords, it was kind of like head up type of energy. This Page of Swords is really focused on what's in the cup because it seems like there's a, an importance of like why that cup is there. Like there's a lot of deep thinking and like almost being mesmerized or like just so focused on what that cup is. Heavy water, even though it is Page. Um, there's some like circus cards in this deck, and that's fun. And the sun too. And that could be giving like the way that we actually prioritize because we were thinking about like maybe the Seven of Cups and what we're supposed to prioritize on different suits. You know, I don't know. This deck, well, this, no, not, I do enjoy the deck a lot. This kind of reminded me of, so I know that they have Inuyasha back on Netflix. I'm okay with Inuyasha. I'm like one of those, like one of my things about like maybe shows or series is that like I like shipping characters, and then um I mean I didn't know who this character would end up with necessarily, but I didn't really watch that much of Inuyasha. I mean, of course, I did actually watch a lot of Inuyasha, but one of the things that was like Inuyasha kept going back like about Kikyo. He's also like a demon doll too. Um, I don't know if there's like a different name for it in the show. I'm sorry if there is. Um, but then like Kagome kept like it was like, girl, oh my god, he keeps going back to the previous person. And it was a sad thing because, like, they had a lot of history, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she was mortal. And so he's like a demon. So there's that too. And so I don't know if it was because of that necessarily, but I feel there was like that type of separation. But then I feel like when he tried to move on, Kikyo was still coming back and being like, and no, you're not. And then, like, I don't know, it was like sad, but at the same time, just like, I felt bad for Kagome, honestly. Like, I know she was young and still figuring out life, but she like just kept up with it because she had like that other guy, um, who was it a wolf? Like it was like Cain. I don't know. I feel like it was like wolf demon, and he was like all about her. It might have been a little more superficial, but I would have to like think about it again or like watch it to see the interaction. But I'm like, it was just kind of a lot. But that wasn't even what I was thinking about with this card, to be honest. I was actually thinking about there's this other character, and she um was it Inuyasha's brother? It was the one that got with Rin at some point, and I think Rin's a human. And then like there was this I think dying wish to like see this person. Like I think it was Inuyasha's brother, if I'm not mistaken. And then she wanted to be like as free as the wind. And she did something, and something happened where she ended up dying in the show. But she saw this person. I don't know. It's like kind of giving that type of energy. Um, Again, deep or Pisces. So then it's the Knight of Pentacles. This one just feels like ready, like not necessarily just like blindly taking action, but just so prepared, like fully off to, like fully dressed to do whatever like needs to be done, type of thing. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna. I'm not that close to being finished, but there seems to be like a little bit of hurt that comes from this Eight of Cups. And I love that this deck is really reading in that way. I'm not happy about the hurt, but like it's reading. I do love a lot of the cards, like especially like the major arcana ones. And like one of the things that I feel like at least that I do is that I like seeing my like the Libra cards at least to see, and even the lovers too, like the cards that I really enjoy. Um, I want them to be more of like heavy hitters for the deck. And I love the movement in the cups, and like I love the dove there too. I feel like it could be a dove, it could be a different bird. It could be a, well, pigeons and doves are related. So, um, I like that like energy of like conjugation type of thing, or like gathering, or even meeting, or to discuss things, and the cathedral that seems to be on the card. And this kind of feels like the aftermath of how you felt about the Three of Swords. And now it's almost like you're propping up or getting up to start living again. That seems like not a position that you'd want to be in. I love a lot of like the hair, like a lot of it, and then it being up. And then it just kind of feels like it's giving couples that like are maybe both into a specific scene or like type of thing that they like to do. I haven't seen Nana in a long time, but there's like I believe two girls named Nana, if I'm saying that correctly, and I believe that's Apple. And again, my Japanese is not good, so like don't ask for Japanese language advice or anything. But there was like that dynamic, and then I know like the more uh like the pink girl type of Nana. There was something that happened with the person that she was going out with, but then I feel like the guy that Nana was associated with, I felt like that was a little more smoother, and she was more of like the um, music type of scene. There's like an elegance with the type of way that there feels like a little skill that goes into it with the Seven of Wands in this card, where it's like needing to maybe be strategic with your planning or the way that you move around is important, like with intention. I would say this is the one of the more really what I feel like is one of the more Japanese inspired cards, even though there isn't a lot going on in the deck. Well, with this card specifically, there's a lot going on in the deck, but this Eight of Wands definitely more traditional, and it like with the I feel like it's the type of blue and the type of background that it is. It just feels really like image like Japanese imagery that I would see. So with this one, this also has like soft chair type of imagery, but with the King of Pentacles, I feel like there seems like other things going on than what's on the card, like in terms of what's going on in the figure's life. And even with the colors of the ocean and even the sky too, with the Ace of Wands here, and you could see in this card, I don't know if you'd be able to see it on the camera, I'm sorry if you can't, but I think that you can. You can even see the like other stars aside from the bolder ones. This kind of gives like kind of rushing to that boat and kind of trying to move forward. Like there's or something that made the energy disheveled, and that feels like the state of being in the card and needing to move forward. Then even like the clothes look really tattered here too. And like the expression of being sad. This one, it looks like maybe there's a lot of work going on, but overall it kind of feels like there's more depth to the story. Like um, I feel like it's not as Pentacles just because, well, it is Pentacles definitely, but I'm feeling like the overall energy of this deck because of, oh my god, it's 54 minutes. Because even with the Pentacles, like some of the expressions, it feels like there's more going on in the mind or more going on than meets the eye type of thing. And I'm gonna go through the cards. like the facial expressions, there's a lot of um like you kind of can like it's almost like reading the face. With the Page of Wands, there's it does give like a little fire because in the face it looks like a little bit of like honestly right now I'm feeling that there could be irritability. I would say that's one of my favorite cards, the Hermit. Sorry, and I don't want to be too over an hour if I do, because for some reason once it hits an hour, then it takes a lot longer to upload. But when it's under an hour, it's not as bad. I do like this Ten of Pentacles. She's like there, but there's no other figures here, and there's the dogs. And she seems pretty satisfied with it too. It almost gives like energy of like raised by wolves or dogs. Because there could be skeptical energy of like other types of lifestyles or like how you grew up with and what you're comfortable with or like again what you know. Especially if you came from maybe a narcissistic type of household and maybe even trying to get away from that or building like your own type of lifestyle or going off of your own lifestyle or like um unfortunately sometimes like you go back to things because of what you know and like that's what you know. I'll have to revisit to see what is in her hands. They kind of look like batons or candles, but I'm not too sure. I do like the images with the name's not coming to me. I don't think it's pillars. Is it gazebo? No, it's not. It's not a gazebo. It's I feel like I said this in the video at some point. Not a shrine. It's it was like in an earlier card where it had one. Well, I could have said, well, like kind of the gateway card where it was reminding me of I believe it was the Judgment card, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe I didn't even say it in that either, but it was earlier on. But I like the type of I like seeing different structures. But I'm gonna keep going because I'm I have some left, so not too much commentary. But I do love with the Six of Wands. It's like kind of moving through the fire, and it kind of feels like Kitsune energy too, where there's the fire path, and then there's a lot of it's coming. It looks like it's coming specifically from her back, like the weight. And again, with the different pages, like this gives like a completely different personality, honestly. So I do enjoy having the different personalities and expressions here. I love the again. Oh. uh, nature and feels like fall almost. And I like how the hair, I like um, the movement of the hair too. This sun makes sense to me. Like, and again, with the sun there too, it feels pretty intentional with this card. Front of the box, the Empress. It does feel like she has like a duty, or maybe there was something also that um a type of responsibility that she was given as well, and maybe it wasn't something that she was thinking she would have. I'm not saying that's for every reading, but for some reason it's kind of giving arranged, like something was arranged, and then um it almost like has like a something maybe in society where that happens. Um like given to her, or even birthright too, and it doesn't need to be a bad thing either. And again, it depends, but that's, I feel like it's based off of the expression that I'm getting. And again, going with the Empress, it's not like super, the things that I said were like necessarily completely based off of traditional Empress um, meanings. And I try not to give this card like a bad rep, because sometimes, again, what is um, represented with Capricorn, but sometimes like when you're a certain way, like sometimes like especially growing up and being dressing or dressing a certain way or being a certain way, like you might be looked at as like a bad egg, but there could be more to it. Okay. I'm just seeing where she's holding her sword. And I had a fairy dress vision where there was like, it was like that, and then there would be like the sleeves there, but it would be leaves at the bottom, like a petal type of dress, like a wedding dress. And well, I was looking at how she's holding the sword, because she's holding it where it's the sharpest. And with the Page and Knight of Cups, I feel like the expression hasn't um, evolved as much, and that's not a bad thing. Um, and then there's a bunch of fish on the cloak, but it looks like really still not looking at the cup all the time, maybe, but still holding it like as high regard. And then the last one is the Hanged Man. For some reason, I feel like um, is it type of Victorian Gothic? Because it kind of like feels to me like a series of unfortunate events type of thing. But I do enjoy this deck a lot, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of readings that I do out of it, whether it's for others or myself, like maybe do client readings here and there. But so far, I've been really enjoying it. I'll do a regular flip through and then a sample reading. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in another video.